A big thanks to BBQ Smokers for sponsoring this video.
I'm gonna turn this giant piece of meat into a delicious Cuban style roast. Until a few weeks ago, this was one of my pigs, running around my garden, happily eating all the good things it can eat in life, and turning into a giant edible piece of happiness for me. Now I'm gonna honor it by cooking something delicious out of it. This is a part of the back of the pork. On this side we have the belly, and this sits up against the end of the back. So basically this whole section right here, and as you can see, this is, well, rather small, and that's because my pigs weren't giants. They were cute little animals. I don't often have that feeling of that cute animal when I look at meat, but this time, that's so bad. All right, I'm gonna take a, oh, it was Knootje. This is clearly Knootje. This wasn't Daisy, so that's good. Yeah, they're both my children. I love them equally much. I'm gonna take my deboning knife and I'm gonna trim off the fat and the skin. I'm pulling it up so I get an even cut on my fat, even though that the cut is round. This will make my job way easier. And I want to end up with a beautiful cut that has a little bit of fat still sitting on top, because I think fat tastes good. Fat has to be something that adds something to the roast and not take away from it. So I'm better off taking this and using it separately. For instance, for chicharrones, or rendering down fat and using it as lard in dishes. That way I get better use out of my food. And now we can see the loin appearing together with the chain that sits on top. A little bit of fat that sits on the top. The thicker pieces I'm gonna trim off a little bit. Little chunks like this. There we go, a beautiful piece of meat that is ready to be seasoned. I'm going to take a bowl, a juicing device, and some oranges and lime. And that's what I'm going to use to make the base of my spice mix. Once I have a 1/4 liter of orange juice, which is around a cup, I'm going to pour it in a bowl. Then I'm going to take the juice out of these limes. That's going to give me about 100 milliliters or 1/3 of a cup of lime juice. Time to chop some parsley, some garlic, some chili peppers, and I'm going to dice fine this giant onion. Let's bring back the orange and lime juice. Add the garlic, the parsley, the chili peppers and the onions. And because this is a large roast, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of salt. And that might sound like a lot, but it is a big roast and it needs a lot of boosting to get the flavors up to be a real tasty Cubano roast. Mix that up and smash that up. Then it's time to take my beautiful pork roast, get my knife out, and start butterflying it, and thereby creating as much surface as I can. Because all that surface can be used to add flavor to it. Now, instead of taking the time, letting it marinate overnight, I'm just gonna cut it open. I'm gonna need that surface later on when I'm going to add more and more ingredients to it. Basically, I'm packing the whole thing with loads and loads of flavor. And this is not about perfection, this is about creating surface, because in the end, we're gonna roll the whole thing up and we're just gonna tie it up and it's gonna look great anyway. So don't worry about it too much. It's all about this and adding flavor to it. This has now become one big piece of pulp because we smashed it and all the flavors came together. It's now one big piece instead of all these little separate chunks. So this is gonna go on the pork roast. I'm just gonna spread it out till everything is nice and wet and everything has a little bit of that spice mixture. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, and we have no later use for this, so just use it all. Don't worry about it dropping off. I'm gonna give this a minute or two to marinate while I prepare the next ingredient. I'm gonna take out my burner, put on the cast iron pan with a little bit of oil, and I'm gonna fry up a heap of ham, making it taste even better. Now it's time that we go back to our beautiful pork meat, and just by letting it sit, you can see that the outside of the meat has been, well, basically turning white because of the orange juice and the lime juice. It just went into that pork meat and just starting eating away at it, making it more tender, more juicy and more flavorful. And therefore it's ready to be loaded up with the ham that we just created. I'm just gonna put on the slices because this recipe is based on a Cuban sandwich. Therefore, I'm calling it the Cubano roast. Not that I know of any authentic Cuban pork roast dish that is made like this, but it's definitely how they make the sandwich. Of course, I'm gonna follow the ham with cheese, and I'm using the best cheese in the world, as you would expect of a Dutch guy. And that's, of course, Gouda cheese. I'm just gonna load it up because you can't have too much Gouda cheese. There's no such thing. Of course, I'm gonna have some pickles in my roast, and the pickles gonna bring the acidity and it's gonna taste freaking amazing. And if you're thinking, well, pickles on your roast, just think about brined chicken. Fried chicken mostly is brined in pickle juice. It is something that works so well, and it does work well on pork too. I'm using my Amsterdam version. We got this beautiful kerstbeken pickled, and so good. Boom, there we have it. Totally loaded up. We got the spices, we got the ham, we got the cheese, I got my pickles. This is going to be very, very delicious. But wait, there's more. I just warmed up some of this delicious pulled pork. Look at how amazing that is. Pulled pork is something that I have on hand a lot. My freezer is completely filled with it. I cook so much pulled pork, it's coming out of everywhere. So far, I'm happy with the way it looks. Of course, I could cook it as a pie, just put a little more cheese on it and just stick it in the barbecue and it will be good to go. But I want to roast. I'm gonna follow through. I'm going to roll it up. I tied up the roast, capturing all of the goodness inside of it, and now it's ready to be cooked. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Let's fire up the grill, come on. I'm getting excited now, let's go. Bring the camera over here. And I'll be cooking on this. This is the BBQ Smoker. And the reason that I want to use this cooker is because it's going to give me ultimate control over temperature and smoke. I'm going to add a little bit smoke flavor to my roast. And once it's up to my liking, I'm going to shut it down and it's just solid cooking from there. I'm going to set the temperature to smoke at a temperature of 120 degrees Celsius. And I got my smoker set up with 2 grill grates. On the bottom one, I'm going to put a dripping tray. That's going to make sure I keep my smoker nice and clean while all of the juices are dripping down. Can you imagine all that cheese being in the bottom of your grill? You don't want that. And on the top rack, I'm putting my roast. And I'm going to slide it in with the opening pointing up. That way, when all the juices start running, like the cheese is melting and the fat and the grease and all the goodness, it's going to stay in the roast and not drip out. I'm going to put in the meter thermometer, and this is actually the whole full block that works on Wi-Fi. And I'm going to take out a thermometer, stick it into my roast up to the first stripe. And it's as easy as that. And now with my phone, I can set the temperature that I want to cook it to. So I want a core temperature of 65 degrees Celsius. And that's when I'm going to get my notification and I know when I've cooked it to perfection. Let's close the barbecue up, turn on the smoker, and I'm going to let this roast smoke. It's been 1 hour and I got a beautiful smoke color on the roast. Look at that. I got that beautiful color popping up, which means I picked up smoke flavor on my meat. Now I could just let the smoke run and then I would get a real intense smoke flavor, but that is not what this Cuban roast is about. It's all about the bright pork flavor, so I want to keep the smoke to a minimum so it just adds a hint of flavor, but then I want to quit it. So I'm going to turn the smoker off, shut it down, and now all I'm going to do is just let it come up to temperature. And I'm going to raise the temperature up by a little bit. 140 will do the job. Then I'm going to close the lid and I'm just going to wait until the core temperature is 65 degrees Celsius. And that's how easy it is. Once I got the notification of my meter app, I know that the roast is done. Oh. Let me just slide it in. There you go. Look at that. All the good things are popping out. This is really rustic right here. The cheese, the pickles. Wow. Look at that. Perfect browning from the smoking and the roasting inside the BBQ smoker. Cooked to perfection, or at least I think so. But let's see if we can prove that by slicing into it. Look at that. Now that is a Cubano roast. Of course, it needs to come in slices, layered with all kinds of goodness. Oh, it's one big mess. That's freaking tasty. That is good. I can't believe how good the pickles taste inside of it. But wait, there is more. Of course, I'm slicing up my Cubano roast. Then I'm going to take a baguette, cut a piece out of it, open it up, put the slices of Cubano roast in, and as you can see, now it no longer fits. But there is a solution to that problem, as always. And that's how we're taking things to the next level. I'm going to take out a heavy cast iron pan and warm it up. Put the Cubano roast sandwich in, put on a heavy cast iron Dutch oven, wait till the sandwich browns, flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. And now that is how you make a Cubano roast sandwich.